Well, I'm delighted as MP for Fermanagh South Tyrone to welcome Martina Anderson's first ever international fracking conference to Ireland. We're delighted that the MEP has come up with this concept along with us in Fermanagh. We have a very, very impressive list of speakers. People are welcome here, whether you're for or against fracking, you're welcome. We want a good, lively debate. Fracking really is an all-Ireland issue, and while Belcoo was the eye of the storm last year, Leitrim, Cavan, Donegal, Tyrone, Armagh, Rathlin, up in County Antrim, etc. A lot of places are very concerned about the impact that fracking could have on their communities. And the bottom line is, we don't know enough about hydrology. We don't know enough about the complexity of, for example, the cave structure here and where that pollution is likely to end up. The Shannon pot is only a few miles over the road. Look at the length of the Shannon River and go down into the Atlantic Ocean. We could potentially damage that water source here in Leitrim for the rest of Ireland. So this is an all-Ireland issue. I'm delighted that the party president, who's extremely busy, is coming here today. TD Michael Colreevy, we've got Phil Flanagan and Sean Lynch MLAs, we've got councillors from across the not just north but from the south as well. So I think today is going to be a fantastic day, and again I'm hugely grateful to our MEP Martina Anderson for having the vision and for bringing this to Fermanagh to say to people, look out that window, why would you destroy what we've got? This place is so beautiful, the quality of our food, the quality of our water, please don't destroy it.
I think the key point for me in this debate is, well, I think there's three key points I would make. First of all, specifically in relation to this particular technology and this particular energy source, we simply do not know enough yet. And it seems to me that in the absence of that, it would be foolish or unwise to make policy decisions now that could have very long-term implications for health, well-being, for our economy and all other sectors. The second thing is, in stepping back from this, if you like, in terms of the bigger challenges we face, does it make long-term sense? For me personally, I cannot see how investment in any fossil fuel technology moving forward is the way to go. And the final point, I think, and the conclusion I come to is in the absence of the evidence and in light of the challenges we face, the precautionary principle has to apply here. And if you apply the precautionary principle in an objective way, then until or unless we have sufficient evidence for Ireland as an island that we can invest in this kind of energy source safely and sustainably, we have to put it on hold.
It's great to be at the conference today and to have a forum to discuss the various aspects of the impact of fracking, particularly in Fermanagh from our perspective. There are many aspects that need to be looked at, but I think what probably hasn't been looked at hard enough is the acceptance that it is an economic benefit in its pure and simple terms. And actually when you start to look at the figures and you start to knock back the projections that are there from Tamboran in terms of the recoverable gas and the value of that to the public purse, it starts to fall apart quite quickly. It's great to have a day like today where you can look at all of the aspects together. So the economic part is just one piece of the puzzle. There's also public health, the environment, agriculture, tourism. All of those different aspects need to be looked at in the round. It needs to be a holistic approach to when you're looking at a net benefit. I only looked at the economic part, but you have to put that then into the bigger picture.
Well, I'm pleased that Sinn Féin have got this conference here, and the whole thing is that we want to see the light shone on fracking, really. And what I was trying to do in my bit was try to give a bit of background to how we've suddenly seemed to have arrived at the EPA doing a study on shale gas in Fermanagh when there's no licence, in Leitrim where there's no licence, and we seem to be at this process. And how has this happened? No policy seems to be be evident, and we really need to try and reverse the wheels here and go back and look at whether we actually want this industry here. I actually visited Arkansas and saw the shale gas extraction there. I'd seen a lot of pictures of shale gas pads, so they weren't actually the worst. What struck me was the nearness of the infrastructure to buildings. You had big yards as well that were, you had to drive from one end to the other equipment. You had truck washes because this brine is so corrosive that they have to wash out the trucks. They were everywhere. You turned, it was compressor stations, containment ponds, water treatment works. It was the whole other infrastructure that astounded me as much as the actual shale pads and drilling. And Arkansas was finished within 7 years. The wells were drying up, and the young fellas that had got jobs on the rigs were all working up in Pennsylvania or working in Dakota. So just to let people know, you might get a job, but it's not going to be long term, and you're going to move wherever the rigs move.
The G8 took place here, and why not have the first fracking conference that I know of in Europe take place here as well. The main points that I was trying to convey in the contribution today really were how fracking could affect the island of Ireland and its agricultural output, and affect the water on the island. At the end of the day, water is going to dictate where food is grown anywhere in the world, and agriculture has a huge output, way above that any fracking can bring, and it sustains a lot more jobs, multiple, than fracking can ever bring. I think it's a short-term project, and we risk putting our agriculture to rack and ruin if we let fracking come in without properly knowing what the cost could involve. The campaign that people waged against fracking here certainly gives succour and hope to everybody who in a similar position. I think that it shows two things. I think one, when a company come in like a thief in the night at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning without speaking to anybody or saying anything to anybody, shows that there's something intrinsically wrong, and that there has been no public consultation whatsoever. And I think for that reason, that in recognition of the campaign that the people of Fermanagh undertook, I think that gives them pretty good recognition as to how hard they tried. And of course, it's not finished yet, not by a long shot. Fermanagh is only one part of the island of Ireland. But if anything goes wrong there, either with its water or with its agricultural produce, the perception will be is that Fermanagh can't be ostracised, that it will affect the whole island.
My name is Dr. Carol O'Donnell. I'm a local GP, and I came today because I'm very worried about the health issues, and therefore I came because that's really what we're at. We have to look at the health. And people were saying, well, we need to get more information out, we need to wait until all the research is done. The research is now out. We now know from the studies that the New York State have looked into, from the physicians and scientists for healthy energy, also in the USA, that without a doubt the negative impacts on health are huge, the positive impacts are almost non-existent. So a cost-benefit analysis purely on health alone says that we will not be able to afford the cost of ill health that results from fracking, both in the medium and long term.
I think it's excellent that the conference is here in Fermanagh, and I think it's also very necessary, because people think that the risk of fracking has gone away. It hasn't. We have a wonderful panel of speakers here who are coming up with factual information, and the pity here is that an awful lot of decision makers who should be here are not here. I notified every TD and Senator and Minister in Leinster House that this conference was on today. Unfortunately, none are here. I'm the only TD here. It's an excellent conference. The fact that it's in Fermanagh, which is just on the border here, poisoned water doesn't know any boundaries. No border will stop poisoned water. So this is something that affects not just Fermanagh, it affects the island of Ireland. And every person who depends on water on this island, and that's every one of us, should be concerned and should be learning about what happened at this conference here today. I will certainly be trying to get some of the expertise at the conference here into Leinster House to explain to the politicians the importance of the decisions that we have in front of us as legislators in Leinster House. And I've no doubt that once people hear that very factual information, that the right decision will be made for the people of all of this island and indeed the people of the world.
Well, after I've received the invitation from Martina Anderson from Sinn Féin, I've done a bit of research with regard to the case in Fermanagh and found that many of the arguments that has brought me to the opposition against fracking are the same in Fermanagh. And I thought that our experiences, my experiences, might somehow contribute, that our approach might somehow help the people here. And our approach was to make clear and to show that there are so many sensitive and priority areas in a county like Fermanagh that it simply doesn't make sense to implement and to develop a large-scale industry like a fracking industry in this beautiful country. That's what I was here. And the second part is I wanted to provide the key results of the Fracking Frenzy report. I've done some research with regard to different countries outside the European Union and the G7 states, and there are some striking global structural deficits which are interlinked with this industry, and I thought that if I share that with the people here, that they might make use of it. Well, the main message is just keep going. It is tiresome. Sometimes it is not funny. It might take your whole life. But if you look outside and if you breathe the fresh air and if you drink the clean water, then you are reminded again and again why it is important to go on, to keep going, to not let loose. And in the end, I think that we will win because it's time for a change. And the change is needed not only for us but for the generations which will come after us. So it's not only a question about today and tomorrow, but a question about the next 50 or 100 years. And it's very, very important that we keep going, because I think we only have to push just a bit more and then we'll make it.
Well, I want to commend the people who organised the conference, Michelle Gildernew, who initiated it, and Martina, who facilitated it, and then of course the experts and the speakers who came and all the other people who came. And it's really important that it isn't just a one-off, that it's part of a process of activism, of engagement. And its importance here in Fermanagh is that this was the place where there was an attempt to drill, to explore the potential for fracking. It would have been here, but it would have underground, if you like, and the water wells would have involved as many as 10 counties, and certainly the 4 counties of Cavan and Leitrim and Fermanagh and Sligo would have been affected by that. And due to local diligence and local activism, and lots of people who probably were never politically active before coming out and calling for it to halt, it was halted. Now, we now have to look at alternatives, move forward, and what I was trying to say to the conference was, it's not enough to say no, you also have to be able to put forward your alternative, and renewable energy is clearly the alternative to this. This is a beautiful, natural, historic landscape, and it should not be destroyed. It isn't ours. We're only here. It's for the next generation. It was here before us, and we have a duty to pass it on to the people of the future.
Absolutely fantastic conference, and I'm really impressed by the fact that the crowd stayed for the duration of the conference. Usually you find after lunchtime a lot of people go home, but everyone was there, and why wouldn't they? Because they got international speakers, and the fact that we were able to do a conference that was so different, and you could see because of the concern of fracking. How could anyone even countenance fracking in this beautiful place, let alone a minister? Giving a licence to people to frack in this beautiful area. and you consider ugly well pads, you know, the irreversible destruction that it would do to this area. It was great that we had Professor Ingrafia here from America talking to the audience, sharing the information, because he's well known, he's a world renowned expert in this field. So for us to be able to get that information from him and him to offer his services, because he said that he's there, he's available, he will help us in the time ahead. We heard about the implication, the adverse implication for health, for economics, for tourism, for farmland, for farmers, from the food that we eat, everything that we need in our society. We also heard about the destruction of the very earth underneath our feet. So that way it was important that we brought the hundreds of people that we had attending our conference today to this beautiful setting. And I want to thank the idea that came from Michelle Gildernew, because without her this wouldn't have happened. But what Jerry Adams said, it wasn't as much as it was important that we imparted the information and we got the statistics and the details and we got all of what we need, not just to whet some people's appetite and to inform people, but it is what we do with that information. So the measures that we need to put together collectively, not just as a political party, civic society, everyone that is concerned about this issue, to try to ensure that we get fracking banned in Ireland. And that is what is needed. And that is what Sinn Féin would like to see. That's what we're going to work towards. And all of the people in the different areas, whether it's Rathlin, North Belfast, Island Magee, here in Fermanagh, Sligo, Leitrim, all of the areas across Ireland that have got genuine, absolute concerns, and why wouldn't they, after what we heard today about the impact of fracking and what it does and what it's going to do to this island. So what we are saying, we are standing shoulder to shoulder with the communities, with all the concerns that they have about this issue, and we will work with them to ban it from this island.